Are you tired of all the dating games, rules, and societal norms that make falling in love confusing and stressful?
Then join us as we ditch the script and empower you to establish healthy, conscious relationships.
This weekly podcast breaks down popular dating reality television and educates you on healthy versus toxic dating habits.
I'm Brianna, a licensed therapist.
And I'm Alex, a trauma-informed and certified narcissist recovery coach.
Are you ready to ditch the script?
That was great concert vibes.
Yeah, I wanted to sing. I just wanted to sing. I had a song in my heart.
Yeah, what was the song?
I don't know the name of it, but it goes like, who sings this? It's from the 90s. Have you ever lost somebody so much it makes, or it's Loved. I don't know the words to any song anywhere, but
Me
do
neither.
you know that song?
No, but that's okay.
Oh. Sleep at night. Have you ever tried to find the words, but they don't come out right? Have you
I do
ever-
know this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Have
okay.
you ever? I was singing it. It was
I
the
think it's
song that
great.
was in my heart.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And we needed that this morning.
I know, we really did. We really did.
Singing is a form of emotional regulation. It's good for the soul for a reason, people.
Yeah,
The soul and the nervous system.
Yeah, you know what? I wish that I could sing better. For those who don't know, Alex has an amazing voice. You are an amazing singer. You do. You have, and also you were like a trained vocalist when you were younger, right?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you were a
Yes,
student
yeah.
of music in many ways.
A voice, yes.
I don't have that gift, but I do love how singing makes me feel.
Yeah. That's
There's
the thing.
nothing
I'm
like
not
it.
joking when I say it's regulating. Humming, too. It's like your nervous system is like, it's a vibe. It needs that. The resonating in the vocal chamber is soothing. That's the extent of my knowledge. Where
It
it's
is
like,
soothing.
yeah. So I was about it. I whipped out my light on my phone.
Yeah.
If you don't
I
watch
know.
our YouTube video, that's worth stopping by to watch.
Wait, that was so funny. It was like you knew exactly what was happening when you did that. We were muted, so we couldn't hear each other, but you fully like fit the vibe.
I was just enjoying being at your concert. I was like, I am 100% in the audience, just like, yes, bitch.
Yeah.
Sing it.
You didn't even know
Yeah.
what song it was.
No,
even
but I
notice.
loved it. You were in your prime, so I had to
was
be
in a
there
moment.
for it.
I had a
was
moment.
Yes.
Ah, well, we needed it.
We did.
What's up with our lives? What are we talking about today? We'll talk about The Bachelor, but
Yeah,
Life.
we will get there. I mean, I'll be super honest. It's been rough for me. Just this whole healing process has been a challenge. And
Yeah.
I know we haven't really talked about it on this podcast, but your girl is itchy and stitches come out on Thursday. That day couldn't get here sooner. And I need new drugs to get rid of this situation on my back. It's
we need the
like,
right drugs.
We need the right drugs. So many antibiotics and... Yeah, we'll cap it there, but
Yep.
send healing vibes towards Alex, please.
Yeah. Sing whatever song is in your heart and then whisper positive healing things in Alex's direction.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, received.
I'm going to whisper for you.
Yeah, that's it. I've been trying to take care of myself, and so I've actually taken a few days off of social media just because it's like I've been so busy and taking care of myself comes first, and I kind of just needed that. So
Yeah. Yes.
What
and
about
I
you?
totally co-sign it. Well, I'm just on a continued journey of seeing who's out here in these streets and
yeah,
kissing a lot of frogs. Actually,
Yes.
doing a lot less physical kissing, but I feel like even just on the hunt, I'm doing a lot of intentional dating-esque socializing. Where
Yeah,
I'm
I
like
love
out
it.
here in the streets trying to like survey like what's going
ready?
on.
who's got
Who's
the
out
vibe?
here? What's going on? What are people what's the tea? What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Are you single? Are you
Yeah.
dating? Are you married? Should you not be here? Are you on vacation? Do you live here? You have to ask these questions in Jupiter,
you do.
Florida.
Yes, you do. Same here in Palm Springs. It's like, are you a
Right.
tourist or are you local?
Right. That's so
I got
true.
asked that question last night. Someone was like, do you live here? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And I don't know if you felt this way because your socialization right now is purposed a little bit differently from mine.
Yep.
Right? But the relief, I notice people have a relieved expression once they learn that I do live here.
Yeah.
Because I think people are anticipating
Totally.
people being like, yeah, I'm not from here. I just flew in for the weekend, blah, 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 here for a bachelor
Exactly.
party, whatever.
Yeah.
Do you have the
100%.
same thing when you're like out, chit-chatting?
Yeah. I think a lot of people, like, I think if you live here in this valley locally, you kind of get the ins and outs of it all, whereas folks who are more tourists see like the fun touristy side of the valley, but don't like deal with some of the other valley things that true, locals have to deal with. Anyway, so when we get into those conversations and it's like, do you live here? Like, do you live in the valley? And then it's like, yeah, I do in this city. And like, that's the other thing is like all these cities are so close to one another that by the time you get to that point in the conversation, you're like, oh, I cannot, like the conversation always gets longer because then you have more to relate to one another by living locally in this desert.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's an interesting place to live, to say the least.
Yeah.
So
tell me about it.
I do have something to tell you that I didn't tell you during our friend chat that I'll tell you now.
Okay.
I will say that I am getting to a point where I'm curious about meeting people out here.
Dating people?
I
Meeting
noticed
people in a dating vibe?
Yeah, in a dating way. I noticed this last
is
night.
breaking news.
Well, yeah. So long story short, y'all, last night I ended up going to a hockey game alone.
Never mind how we got there.
Yeah, we don't need to go into how we got there, but that's where we ended up. And I was sitting there and very much alone in my row, which I thought was funny because I'm like, wow, I have great seats, but there's like no one else.
No one to share.
And I was kind of like looking at all the couples, and there was a part of me that was like, kind of curious, like, should I get on a dating app just to see what's out here? And so I got excited about it. Like, I'm not fully ready yet, but that part of me that was like kind of speaking up, like, hey, I think I might be a little ready to like explore.
Oh.
And so I was like, I let her speak up and just, had some time with that part really quick. And yes, in this hockey arena with me, myself, and I didn't like bust out into meditation. You can do parts work just like in your head, kind of like, okay.
That's right.
It was
what a
nice.
good example
It was
of
nice.
parts work.
On the
I
go.
love that. Yeah, on the go
too.
parts work. It's the travel size version.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. I also here's what I think is a nuanced part of being in a trend. I don't even want to call it transitional because I would suggest that wherever you are doesn't have as much of a purpose as being either single or in a relationship does. But right here, I think that sometimes when people hear this, they're like, "Oh, you're feeling ready to date? Okay, let's get moving, let's get shaking." And what I think is really important is that there's no pressure for that for you to light a fire just because that part of you spoke up right now. I think what's really cool is being able to be like, "Oh, that's so interesting. I perked up about the idea of that." And I haven't felt that way in a really long time. And that can be where that starts and finishes right now, at least today.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was just like a good little convo. And it felt really nice to allow that part to one, feel that part come online. Cause that part has been chilling, not really active. Yeah. She's been like, I'm good. But now she's kind of like, ooh, I'm kind of curious, So,
cool.
So that's nice. It was just a nice little feeling. And, so I'm not in any rush, that's for sure. But slowly but surely, I think in time I'll be, opening myself up. Probably by April, I think, would make sense.
Wow.
Yeah.
Our forecast is saying the wind blows to April.
April
That's
Fools.
funny.
Just kidding.
Why April? Why does that stand out to you as like a...
For in my mind with what my goals are for this quarter 1 and one time, like just being very honest right now, having a full-time business and a full-time job is challenging, y'all. It's challenging. And right now, those two things have my full attention, and then me and my own work, my own healing work and my own me time. Like that's my capacity. So yeah, with some of the goals that I have for quarter 1, I foresee by April, my time and energy being way more available and abundant. And that is going to be, you know, helpful in dating. I don't think dating right now when I'm this busy, but let me put it like this. If I choose to date right now, that means something else in my life is going to have to diminish, like my commitment to something else is going to have to change, right? Yeah. And I'm not ready for that. Like even the part of me that's curious about dating doesn't want to sacrifice that. Like she very much is invested in that. And so I think there's this part's really intentional with, you know, my business comes first, me, myself, and I, and all the things that, you know, I need for my own sanity come second. In a way, not really. I'm saying this poorly, but you get it. Like these are my priorities.
Yeah, fully understand. Yeah.
And then it's like when I have additional energy and time to devote to meeting people, being more social and putting myself out there, then that'll be that. But right now is not the time for that. So that's why I say April.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, you'll have more space for it, literal space.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so curious what that's going to lead to. I'm so excited. I'm really excited for you.
Yeah, I'm just like one step at a time, whatever. In like a very freeing way. Like
not in a dismissive whatever. I'm pushing my discomfort down.
No.
It's like a true
letting go. Like
whatever. Yeah. There's air to it. I love that. I think lately you and I both have been nurturing our friendships in locally, and that takes its own time as well. Yeah,
and is really important.
It's important.
It's so important. Like friendships
and I'm getting
are
more
so
out of
important
than nurturing dating relationships, because those aren't given much back. But these friendships, though, they are bountiful. Yeah.
Bountiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So love that for you. Super happy.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off that note, if you are a regular listener of our podcast, you might recall Alex having friend anxiety from a couple weeks ago. Got to see those gals again in real life, and we're official friends.
Yeah.
Like
Hell
now making plans.
Yeah. That's great. I had I didn't tell you this before when we got on, but my neighbors down the street that I've been desperate to like be friends with, they had me over and I brought the dog. Ooh. It was that was kind of a situation, but I had a really good time with them, and it felt really good. And she told me, she was like, when we hung out the other day at my house, she was like, I really feel like we connected. And I was like, yes, me too. Yeah. So much. And it was
like
very
amazing.
Yeah. It felt, it settled any of that worry of like, how are we feeling about this? Do they want to see me? Do I want to see them?
Right. Exactly.
It just neutralized it.
Love it. Love
good
that.
For us. Also,
good for us.
Lucky them.
For real. Yeah.
Lucky them.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's so nice to be able to connect with people that you just vibe with, and it feels so effortless and free. And I feel like friend sparks are a thing too. We don't really talk about them.
Oh my God, they really are though.
Yeah.
I have them with you. Also, I left you hanging on the high five. Just try it again.
That's okay. Love you. High five.
Love you too.
Okay. Are we ready to talk about Zach Shallcross and his suitresses?
Suitresses. What a good word. I'm so glad that we came to that conclusion.
We crushed it.
Look how many notes I have. Just this many.
I'm the opposite. Yeah, okay, me too. I was going to say, at first I thought you were trying to say you have a lot. And I was like, I don't really have that many.
Like absolutely next to nothing.
So let's see how short this week's episode is.
Yeah.
Although everyone knows that Brie and Alex can talk, so we'll
sure,
see.
we can absolutely dissect. It's so funny because some of my friends that listen to this and also watch these shows are like, yeah, I'm not paying attention to these shows in the way that you guys are. Because a lot of people are, it's background. We're like making notes about things that are being exchanged, everything.
Yeah.
Except for
body language. Yeah, I know. Well, there wasn't much to work with this week. I don't feel like
I do have
there
thoughts,
was.
though.
Me too. I have thoughts and like guesses. Like predictions is better than guesses. That's a sexier word. Predictions.
Predictions.
And yeah, I will say this. I think that this season is going to get real interesting once the true drama starts to unfold. And we're seeing it kind of like poke its little head out this week. It's like a gopher, right? The drama of this season's like a gopher. It's like it comes up and it like looks around and then it buries down and hides. But that gopher's about to come out to play.
Yeah.
The drama gopher.
Let's talk about that. Because like we'll get into the one-on-one date, but I have thoughts about. I know that there's like a tease of what the drama will turn into when it like comes to the surface, and so my feelings about this right now may change in the future. That's always a possibility. But right now, I was kind of frustrated with what went down because what we see is Brianna.
Yep.
Oh, I share a namesake with. Yep. She's well, first of all, she's stunning. It's really hard for me to like see anything but her sheer glow. But she said she was dealing with for herself that like the girls weren't making her comfortable, in particular one person, which was Christina. And we watched them like roll the tapes of this experience that made her feel bad, which she's entitled to feel bad, but I think it was a communication breakdown.
Agreed. Yeah.
Right? Because all she said, and listen, the way in which girls relate to each other, especially in competitive settings, especially when we're already pitted to be in competition with each other, even outside of competitive settings, like the way that we try to relate to each other is super weird. So we end up saying weird shit like,
especially
I hate you.
With alcohol in our system.
Yes, exactly. And also things are vibrating at a really high,
anxious, hyper aroused
energy
level.
Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you for helping me out with that. And so Christina says to her, because Brianna comes in with the rose that she got from America, and then like whatever. I think that the girls were just responding to her as in like, you're safe. Doesn't that feel nice? But what Christina said is she's like, I hate you, JK.
Right.
Is that a
jealous.
weird thing? Right. Is that a weird thing that we do? Yes, 100%. Should we stop doing shit like that because it doesn't actually help build a connection? And there are many other ways to be like, wow, I wish that I could feel that way. Or whatever. Or even maybe take an interest in like, do you feel safe? Like whatever. But it made Brianna feel bad. I'm talking about myself in the third person.
I know, I get it. No, that's what I do. You're safe.
And it made her feel bad. But she just like, I get the impact of it for her.
Right.
And that's valid. But she made a really big fucking deal about it also.
Girl, yes. So basically, and we can unpack this more too, because this happens towards the end of the episode, but I really feel that what Brianna was experiencing is very similar to what Zay was experiencing with Cole from Love is Blind. When us women have certain insecurities or limiting beliefs about ourselves, we hear and see things through that lens, through the insecurity limiting belief lens. And I truly feel that Brianna, I don't think this bothered her as much until she saw how connected Christina is with Zach, and also combined with the lack of time she's had with Zach. It just really like she hyper focused on that one thing and like kind of fueled this feeling within herself.
Yes.
I will say I am proud at how Christina handled it. I was actually impressed with how Christina handled it.
Me too.
So I'm just interested to see what ends up happening, because what we see with the preview is that it very much seems that Christina becomes a villain. So I'm just curious. I'm super curious. And in the meantime, we only have what we have to work with. I still haven't even looked up any of the Greer stuff that we talked about from last week. And I'm like in a bubble over here, because me personally, if I know what the tea about what's being said about these people, it's going to affect the way that I analyze this stuff. So I try and live in a bubble when we're unpacking, and then afterwards I go and dig up all the crazy shit. So just letting everybody know.
And I'm with you on that, because I just want to I want to be able to evaluate what's happening here, and there's a lot of other information that's helpful for context sometimes, but it's also noise, and that's not the purpose of the show. Is not to dispel all of the tea. The purpose of this show is to watch these relationships unfold and make sense of it to the best of our abilities through our lens. And I agree with you. I really appreciated watching. I'm glad that Brianna said something to her.
Agreed.
Because it was bothering her. And I really agree. I was impressed with how Christina handled it, because she didn't get defensive. She said, she was like, I really want to know, what I said, what did I do that's causing you to feel this way? I'm really sorry that you feel that way. And not in a, well, I'm sorry you feel that way kind of vibe. She's like, no, I'm genuinely, I'm sorry that this has affected you. Can you help me understand what happened from your perspective? Yeah. And she took ownership, and she apologized. She recognized, even just for herself, that this was clearly not something that she intended to do. It didn't even stick out in her brain. So it wasn't like a manipulative tactic as far as we can see. I believe that, at least.
Me too. Yeah. When they played the scene back, I'm like, you can tell Christina was drunk in that. You could tell just by how she was slurring her words a little bit, compared to how she was on the day. Yeah. And so I truly felt that Christina meant what she said to Brianna during this apology combo. And so we'll just have to see, the rulings out on what's to come. So,
how did you feel about when she brought it up with Zach?
I didn't like that. I have notes on that. I felt like Brianna really wanted to whistleblow and be like, it was Christina. But I think she was scared to do that, because in true fashion, usually the whistleblower gets caught in the crossfire and ends up going home too. So I think she was partially scared and looking for Zach to kind of give her permission. And I think Zach was also really uncomfortable with it. And I love that he was like, if it's been squashed already, I don't want to know about it. And I was like, love that. Yes, I love that boundary, because he's like, if there's no reason for me to get involved, I don't want to get involved, especially because Brianna needs to understand she is not the only person in a relationship with Zach right now. And so when we are when we are in relationship with our partner, it's one thing in that moment because we have a rapport built, and I'm the only one going to that person to be like, OMG, this is what I've experienced and this really hurt my feelings. But when it's one person dating 20, 30 people, or however many chicks are there right now, and they're all going to start going to him being like, well, this person hurt my feelings, this person hurt my feelings, it's really overwhelming to start compartmentalizing the relationships. I can only imagine. So I love that he drew the line in the sand and was like, if it's already been squashed and it's not affecting anyone else, then no, I don't want to know about it. And so Brianna respected it. At first, I was nervous she was going to not respect it, because she kept, you could tell she was anxiously talking and, nervous about how it was going to go down. And so there was a part of me that was like, just stop. That's how I was talking back to the TV.
And then she did.
She did.
She was finally like, okay, I won't tell you who.
Oh, whoa. I got scared she was going to violate that boundary and say it anyway for a second. And I was like, girl, you are going to get yourself sent home if you do that. So, yeah.
I think this episode, Brianna's clearly insecure about
Yeah.
not feeling connected with Zach. And it was interesting that Zach mirrored that. And he was like, I'm noticing that I'm having a hard time in our connection.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it flows. I
kind of agree, though.
I agree. I loved how he did that.
Me too. He's a great
he
communicator.
Really is surprising me. Great.
Yeah. Great communicator. And he
communicator.
did it in such a kind way. It wasn't like a, look, Brianna, I don't know if our connection, it wasn't in that way. It was just like, you know, I just feel that when we're together, it's a very serious, strict, you know, vibe. And I'm not a serious, strict guy. And so, you know, there's something here, but it's not progressing because I feel you have a lot of walls up. And I agree with him. I think Brianna is so in her head about like America's first impression rose that she's like putting this pressure on herself to like be the gorgeous entrepreneur woman of the house. And it's like, girl, be you. And if this is the real you, amazing, then Zach's not the guy for you. Right. So like, and that's not a personal thing. It's just like, you know, some people are more grounded and serious and like that energy of, you know, very logical and cool. And then there's people like myself who are utter goobers. And we want someone to be a goober with us. You know what I'm saying?
Goobers
so it's
unite.
like goobers unite. And, you know, logical, like, you know, grounded people unite too. Like, it's not one is better than other. It's equal power, but different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. And I agree. And I feel like, and of course, like the show has only shown us what they can fit in an episode. But all that we've been able to see is that Brianna's struggling with her own insecurities based on all of those amazing things that you just pointed out. And the only times that she's had face-to-face time with Zach has been, it feels like her reaching for something to connect with him, but it's connecting on a more negative plane rather than focusing on each other and actually being. And this happens a lot on this show.
Yeah, Gabby struggled with this too for a hot second, and I'm really proud about the second conversation they had. I will hold my lips because I know we're gonna like try and unpack it in order. But here's what I will say: watching this show, specifically this time, is when people get nervous, they start talking about themselves. Okay, because it's the only thing they know to talk about, and on a date. It is the most unattractive thing because we want to be asked questions. So for anyone really looking for like, how do I become a better dater and like actually, you know, weed out people who are for me and not ask the questions. And if you notice that the other person isn't asking questions, but is talking about themselves, this is something to like keep in mind. Do they have nervous energy? Are they talking about themselves because they're nervous? How can I bring, and then empathetic guess, hey, I'm picking up on a vibe that you might be a little nervous. And I just want you to know, I get it. I get nervous on dates too. And we're totally safe. And I just want us to have a cool combo. Like, be chill about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you start watching, and what I love so much about Zach, especially in the first week's episode, but you still see this happening, is if he picked up on the nervous energy, he would state that and even own it for himself. I'm nervous too. And then it's like, oh, now we can build a relationship and rapport over the fact that we're both here nervous on this date. Like, you know what I mean? So I just want, that's something I've really been noticing, because same with Gabby. Like, I love her. And when she pulled him for a chat on the group date, I was like, this is nails on a chalkboard. You can do so much better, Gabby. But you could just tell she was like so in her head about like, I need to be this girl on a date and just tell him who I am. And it's like, that's not the way people like to connect, you know?
Right. It feels like I'm being shown a movie trailer against my will. Yeah. Against my will, though, because if I haven't asked any questions to garner interest, then it feels like it doesn't matter if I'm here or if someone else is here. It's just like you're just going on about your shit. I love that tool to be able to, because you don't have to pretend that you're cooler or chiller than you are to have that conversation. But even just noticing that someone could be acting out of nerves, and to be able to notice it and then own it yourself, because it doesn't feel good to just be like, wow, you look really nervous. Looks like that's uncomfortable for you. You know, that doesn't feel good either. It's very isolating, but to connect and be like, yeah, I'm nervous too. It's hard. Yeah. It's awkward, isn't it? You know? Yeah. And then, it usually really helps. Really helps.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%. I think especially like if you met on a dating app, I used to make that joke. Oh, so you're the person I met on this thing we call Bumble or whatever dating app you're on. It's like you laugh at it because you're like, oh my gosh, can you believe we're doing this nowadays? And then it's like,
I know.
Like breaks the tension. So it's like, find a way that works for you to like break that initial situation. Okay, cool. Moving on. Where are we going with this week's episode?
Well, one-on-one date. The one-on-one date, and we should also talk about the group. We got to talk about the Lotto group date.
I know.
Can we talk about the group date first, and we'll get to Christina's one-on-one? Because I have a lot of thoughts about Christina's one-on-one, mostly positive, but the group date.
The first group date, the bad bitch group date,
the bad bitch energy.
This is so cringy for me. I was so cringy. I was like, why are we
so cringy?
I'm like, why is this even? Yeah, great, but I just don't. Yeah, I don't know. I felt like Zach did not choose this date, and the producers were like, "This is what we're gonna do." And
yes, what I'm happy for is for Lotto. I'm happy for Lotto getting that Bachelor Nation check. I'm glad she got paid for that, because I hope that it was robust. Because
for real.
But also, it was so random that the other Bachelor alumni were there. Victoria was there. Those other two ladies that I don't know.
Juan, who she was on Bachelor in Paradise for a hot second, wasn't she, this year? She's been on Bachelor in Paradise twice, and she wasn't on this season. Okay, she wasn't on this season, but she has been on it twice, and she calls herself a hurricane for a reason. And so every time this happens with Taj, and so my note is, Taj, please go get therapy. Love you. Like, that's all I'm gonna say. Because
she says when she leaves, she's like, I'm always in this situation, and I'm like,
that's way more reflective.
Why might that be?
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, I feel for the girl. Yeah, exactly. I feel for that girl, and I don't think she realizes how she contributes to her own suffering. You know what I mean? So so that's my notes on that. But let's talk about the date.
Yeah, it gave me the ick. I was like, all that I could think about, Alex, was if I was on this date and I saw Zach doing whatever it was that he was doing to participate. And you know what? Objectively speaking, props to him for just going with it. He just went with it. I just didn't like what I saw. And all that I thought about was, if I was there, I would have had to restrict every bone in my body from not just physically being like, this has been really nice, thank you so much, it's not for me, I gotta go.
And like, I'm gonna tap out. Like, what?
But not even because of the date. I mean, the whole date was cringy, but it was him. It was like, I was like, oh, I don't want to watch this white boy do his white boy.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't want to watch. Like, it felt really unattractive.
But like, I'm embarrassed for you.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed for him, and I was like, I don't think that I'd want to continue to date him after that. It makes me sound really judgmental. However, I can't control an ick.
Yeah,
I have an ick.
It's okay. I have a nick. That's okay. Oh my god, that's so funny. That didn't bother me as much, but I also get it. I get it, and I've had that experience. I have had that experience. Like, I remember when we were doing, I think it was Michelle Young's season with the poetry thing. I was like, no, stop. Like, yeah. So I feel you, but this go around wasn't as intense, but mad respect, because it's a thing. Like, we all have our turnoffs. You know, when I was really little, I had a crush on a boy, and then I saw his feet and immediately was like, don't have a crush on you anymore. So, you know.
What was up with his feet?
His big toe had a lot of hair on it.
Okay. Well, I would like to represent. I like to be a voice for the hairy toe community, as I am a member, a longstanding member for as long as that I've had body hair, and it's tough.
I don't think your toe is as hairy as this toe. I have the hair on my toe, but it's not like,
you haven't looked.
Bigfoot hair.
Like there was a lot going on. There was a lot going on.
It was very coarse and curly and
It had texture. Oh no!
It gave me the ick.
I'm trying to think if I had an ick that stands out so much. I know that I talked here a couple of weeks ago about that guy that I made out with on the date, and the date was like the 2 dates that we had was pretty okay. But yeah, the minute that his mustache landed in my mouth, I was like, ick.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. The minute that the mustache arrived on the PDA scene, I was out. The minute. Yeah. I had to go.
I kind of wish we had like a fun tap out button to hit when that happened.
Oh my God. Well, you remember that MTV show Next where they had the bus?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Well, that's essentially what we would do with the tap out button, which is just randomly call out next.
Yeah.
Next.
I do say that though. I say, thanks for playing.
Love that. Do you say it to a person?
Dad.
Oh,
no, I say it to myself or to girlfriends who come to me to vent about it. I'm like, yeah, okay, thanks for playing. Collect $200 for pass and go. Like, you know what I mean?
Or rather, pay me $200.
Going around the board. Yeah.
Okay, we'll continue to develop our ick list as time goes on.
Okay. Hairy toes and white boy dances.
White boy dances. I can appreciate a white boy dance if we are dancing silly together. But this is the best you got, and I have to just observe it, and I don't get to participate. Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, okay. Out. Especially sans alcohol. It's like, ooh.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. You can't be bone dry sober doing stuff like that. My goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Any other? I thought it was annoying that Tajwan stayed, but I also know that was a producer.
100.
It felt like they were really reaching for drama in this episode this week.
Agreed. This is the first moment where we see Brianna pull Zach aside for reassurance, and he gives it to her. Yeah. And so I feel for Brianna that this kind of theme throughout the rest of the episode and this week in the house for her, she continued to feel this way, but it does cater to like what we see down the road. So just want to make a note of that. And then the other thing that I thought was super cute was that, and this just goes to show even more that this is why Taj needs to go to therapy, is she's like, bad bitches don't cry. And then the producer was like, sometimes bad bitches cry. And I was like, I love you. Are you cute and single?
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah.
Adorable. I didn't catch the producer, recall.
Oh yeah,
because...
he like walks over there to like comfort her and says that. It is like, sometimes bad bitches cry. And I was like, you go, Glen Coco.
Yeah. And also like true that like we're both bad bitches and we'd be crying.
Beyonce cries. My mentor goes like this. Beyonce takes a shit, everybody. Like, she just is like, they're humans, right? Like, they have, no one wants to think of her like that, because she's a fucking queen and is so successful and like, yes, girl.
And she's a person.
And simultaneously, she's a human who has emotions. Yeah. Guaranteed she cries and does all bodily functions like everyone else. So,
speaking of...
the farting
Speaking
comment.
Of. Oh my God. I can't about what we're ditching.
I know.
We
for real
should not be putting ourselves in pain. We should not be putting ourselves in pain just to keep up the illusion that you are a woman who doesn't poop or fart. Give it up.
For real. I'm with you. I'm so with you. I was like appalled at this conversation. And then one of the girls said it in like the cutest, like 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 what's the word, compassionate way where she's like, you guys, like, I'm so surprised to hear that you go to the extent to do this. It's a normal bodily function. And I was like, thank you.
Yes,
like,
thank you.
These girls are talking about going across to their neighbor's house to take a shit, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like,
and they feel those few were the most passionate about,
I know,
going to these, like, it's sort of like they were, I'm like,
who in your
past
who has shamed you for this? That's what I want to know.
The world. I mean,
besides society.
I hear, I mean, and I'm sure that this is a comment that's made in lots of households, but it's not ladylike. It's not ladylike. Like, yeah, okay.
Please.
And I understood I want there to be a line drawn. I want there to be some mystery in my relationship.
Yes.
There's validity to that. Shut the door while you're taking a shit.
Yeah.
Don't leave the door open. Don't fart.
Spray
and ask
some
someone
smells.
To smell it. Yeah.
Use that
like
poopery.
Unless it's totally within, the fabric of your connection and normal, and it maybe even endearing, that you would like run over to someone just to fart in their vicinity and then run away because you think that that's funny. Do that. Otherwise, like,
I've been in relationships like that. It is funny.
I believe it. If you think it's funny, then that's great. But like, draw boundaries so that you can still see each other as sexual partners. Because here's the thing that people don't tell you about being in a relationship for a long time, is that you do have to cultivate that energy. You have to work for it. Your sexual chemistry,
regardless if you shit and fart in front of them or not.
Right. So like, draw boundaries, but we should not, and I've been here, we should not be putting ourselves in literal physical pain just to avoid the reality of being a human being that needs to evacuate stuff from your bowels.
I want to share a story on this. So
please, I would love a good poop story.
And it's a fart story, but it's about this exact thing. So in one of my previous relationships, in our first slumber party with this partner, I farted in my sleep. Mm-hmm. And the next morning I wake up and that was the first thing he said to me in the morning. He was like, I just want you to know you farted in your sleep last night. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And he was like, no, I loved it because like, I'm so attracted to you that it was nice to be like, she's a human. And I'm like, okay. Oh. Yeah. And so I just like, ladies, like, I just want you to know that like, fuck, shit happens, literally. And like,
literally shit happens.
The right guy who's like conscious and emotionally mature is not going to think you are less attractive because you have a human moment. Like, that isn't the vibe. At least for me, I do not want to feel that kind of. No, fuck that shit. Nah.
I agree with you. Like, I don't want to date someone that's going to make me feel that way. Okay, I have a story to share.
Okay.
When I was dating my high school boyfriend, I hadn't experienced any mutual bodily functions while being with someone that I was attracted to or like trying to date. So this was like the first time that this has ever even been relevant. And we were just hanging out, and we were probably like kind of in like a tickle fight. We were like rolling around.
Oh shit.
It was all very PG. We were like rolling around, kind of fucking with each other. And he just like rolled over in a funny way, and he just farted. Like, it's just one of those, movement happened, and it just happened. And the two of us just immediately stopped what we were doing, looked at each other silently, and burst into tears laughing.
Of course.
Like, burst into laughter. It was the funniest fucking thing. To this day, it's one of like the funnier memories that I can recall.
Yeah.
And no part of it ever made me feel like, ew, that's so gross. I mean, of course, men have more permission to like fart and poop and that be known without taking away their sexuality. But there was no part of me that was good, that felt like, ew, why would you do that? Like, a fart came from your body. And my hope is, we weren't together very long, but my hope is that he would have felt the same way, if something like that happened with me.
100%. So what did we learn here today? It ain't no thing.
It ain't no thing. Like, we need to just evaluate why we are so afraid to do this in front of other people, and then like weigh out the risks.
For real.
You're going to go to someone's house.
Many. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
One-on-one.
One-on-one. Yeah, let's get to this.
Christina. So Christina is our Southern Belle content creator who is the single mama. And she gets the first group date, or sorry, one-on-one date, not group date. And yeah, so they go on a helicopter ride, and then she meets his family.
His entire family. The whole family.
Yeah. There's no anticipation for that family meeting down the road at the end of this series. For Christina, at least, if she makes it that far. Yeah, I don't know. What were your thoughts on this whole situation?
It felt like a really giant gesture to do so early in the season of like my first one-on-one date. I'm going to like bring them to my family. Like I kind of would have liked if he had a little bit more time with her, but I also wonder if this was a way and also in agreement with the show and the producers and everyone, but for him to be like, this is a thing that's really important to me. My relationships with my family is incredibly important to me. They're a big part of who I am. So like, if you're even going to get on this journey, like you're going to get familiar with, how I relate to these people. Yeah. And he's lucky that the person he picked was Christina, because Christina is extroverted and she's not going to buckle under the pressure, but I don't think that would have been a good move for absolutely everyone. No. It would have been really tough, stressful.
I also think this is not a smart move to make.
Tell me why.
So I have a reason for my basis of opinion for this.
Yeah.
So Pilot Pete's season, if anyone has like watched the Bachelor seasons previously, Pilot Pete does this with Morgan, who was I think her name is Morgan. She's now happily married to some other dude, but all I remember is spider eyelashes. Like she had like the whatever mascara she chose to use, like it was the thing for her on this season. But anyway,
gotcha.
Moral of the story is, very similar thing. He picks her for a one-on-one early on. It was like his parents' anniversary party or something. And so brings her to meet the entire family. And now here's the thing is Morgan was very strict, religious, Christian, like didn't drink, wanted to save sex for marriage. Pilot Pete was like partier, was known for having sex with Hannah Brown in a windmill 4 times on her season. And so they were polar opposites, but Morgan makes it like the entire way through the season. And then I can't even remember the details of what happened, but Pilot Pete ends up finishing his season chasing after Morgan and like leaving the last girl he has for her. And even though they're like on paper, not well matched at all. And they ended up breaking up and not working out. And one of Pete's mom's things was this, is like, I don't see a reality where you two work out because you're so different in your values, right? And he took offense to that. And, but here's my point in saying this is I think what happened for Pilot Pete and what could happen for Zach is that because this is vulnerable for Zach too, she's meeting his entire family. And so I think that it prolongs because now there's this extra layer of investment because the family's involved with this person, that he is going to make more excuses to keep Christina despite other connections because she has met his family.
There's already like experience of familiarity.
Yeah, and I think the same, because again, that's why I think Pilot Pete kept Morgan through the majority, whereas if he gotten to know her in other settings beforehand, maybe without that added layer of the family knowing her already, he would have been like, we're too different in our values, this isn't a match. But because of that, getting to experience, like, we're a couple with my family, doing this, I can see this in the future, it adds this extra false sense of rapport and intimacy that's not really there yet, you know?
Right. Totally agree.
So I think that this was a slippery slope for Zach to do. And I think it is in general for any bachelor or bachelorette, because I think it's kind of like moving in together prematurely. It's harder to break up, so you make excuses to stay together. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
On the flip side, I agree with all of that. I think it was just far too much, way too soon. And he barely even knows her. So like, yeah. It was weird. On the flip side, though, I can appreciate from her lens, while that also probably felt like it was too much too soon, was maybe a good opportunity for her in one fell swoop in the course of a day get to experience what his family is like as it has her own child to consider. Like,
Yeah.
if we play the tape all the way forward and in the, assumption that they end up together, these are going to become relevant to her family, these people.
Yeah.
And relevant to her daughter. So she would want to know who would be the additional adults in her child's life that she didn't pick herself. So I think it's helpful to be able to know that. And it gave a good opportunity for her to eventually, like, later on in that date, to tell him, like, I need to tell you, I have a daughter. Like, I need you to know this about me before you go forward. Moving on towards just what happened in this conversation.
Yeah.
I appreciated how they both handled it. It felt responsible. It felt
Agreed.
It just felt like, sort of like, I don't expect you to have a decision on how this makes you feel right here, right now. I know that this is a lot to consider. It's a lot to take on. But I want you to be informed, and, like, these are my priorities. Right. And for him, he was incredibly honest as well. And it was really affirming. He was like, I think that that's amazing. I value you in your role as a mother. I can tell that you care a lot about your child and that this is an important part of your identity. And I don't know how I feel about it yet. And I want to be careful as I consider this, because I have my own fears. I don't know. I want to be a dad. I don't know if I'm ready for that right now. And it scares me. And I love that he said that, because
Me too.
it allows her to feel a bit informed of exactly where he's at, which is somewhere in between right now.
Yeah. I have the same notes. Like, I was really proud of Zach for being honest, because I think that what a lot of people could do in that situation, because they want to be respectful and supportive, is they can be like, yeah, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, great, cool.
Yeah.
And kind of leave it at that without sharing their true, like, well, what does that mean for me and how I feel about this relationship? And so I was really proud of him for, like you said, validating her, supporting her, and simultaneously being like, this is how I feel.
Yeah.
And he gave her a rose, which I thought was sweet. So it's like, we're exploring it, we'll find out how he feels about it later on. And that's that. And I think that's the healthiest, most logical thing that you can do in that moment, especially for how connected he feels to her already. So
yeah,
that's that.
Again, listen, did I fall asleep during this episode? Yes, I did. However, I continue to be, even though Zach gave me the ick and I will never recover, but I continue to be impressed with him. I don't often expect how he communicates for, on his own behalf and with the other women. He's incredibly emotionally intelligent, but in like a pretty accessible way. He's not super woo-woo. He's not like super deep. He's just calling it exactly as he feels it in a really simple way. It's a really good model.
Yeah. It's like respectful, like
honest.
Just good. Good job. Just good. Okay, then we have group date 2. And this is interesting. So I don't even remember what they do on the group date. I just remember the cocktail party. Oh, wait. Yeah, what did they do?
They didn't do anything. They just kind of had
just hung
drinks.
Out.
Yeah, they just hung out.
Oh, okay.
They just had drinks and they were
okay,
just
so
talking.
That was the date. Okay, good. I was like, did I miss something? They usually do some kind of ridiculous activity.
Yeah, and they didn't.
Great. So I loved that the Ariel pulls him for a chat, just like to get to know him.
She's the sexy one from New York. Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't remember if she was from New York, but okay. She had the green dress on, super straight black hair. She gets a kiss. Yay. And then
she does. That was cute.
Yeah, it was. And then Jess and Zach go for a chat, and Jess gives him this interesting question of like, I want to know something that no one else knows. And he shares with her a very intimate like story about having this diagnosis as a child, and the doctors were basically telling his family like he's not going to live, and then his mom like fought for his life, and he's here living, breathing as a grown-ass man. And so I didn't know that about his story. That kind of had me like, oh, wow, that's amazing. Yeah. What about you? How'd you feel about that little combo?
I thought that it just was really nice to see him like get emotional. Because he opened up about something that's clearly very personal to him. And as he was talking about it, he was like, oh, wow, I don't actually know if I've really told many people about this, you know? Like, I think it took him by surprise that he all of a sudden started to tell something that was like very, very, very personal. But it was special. It made me even fonder of him because he was vulnerable. And it just touched me, the idea of him. I don't totally like subscribe to the, like, we're all here with a purpose. It's just not in my own belief system. But I also see that it exists in others, and I validate that as well. And for him, it's very real, and it makes sense because of what he went through. He's like, I'm here for a reason. I must be, and I want to live with that purpose in mind, or searching for that purpose. And I think that must have helped him through lots of experiences in his life. I can tell that he was ready, willing, and able to even go there vulnerability wise, because I think the sense that I get is he's very attracted to Jess. He's like, even their body language before that conversation really started. She was like tucked in right under his arm. Like, I haven't seen him be that physically close with any of the girls yet. There's usually some distance, and she's just like right there. I understand. There's two parts of me they're speaking up as far as the asking for something that no one else knows, because it just feels a little baity. It's like, if someone wants to share something really personal and it becomes this thing, that's fine. Yeah. I got it though, because she's like, there's so many people here and I want to be able to feel connected to you. So like, I would love if there was a thing that just you and I know about, or like, I feel close to you. But it just, I don't know. Just if there's a part of it that feels a little forced, or even like a hair manipulative.
Premature.
Yeah. Yes. She's just young. She's really young.
Yeah. And so I agree with you though. I was like, there's so many things that could have been, like, a hidden talent, a secret handshake that they made together, like anything. I feel like in seasons past, I've watched one of the suitresses going for the Bachelor, Bachelorette, make up some kind of like, whenever I look at you like this, that's like a thing. You know what I mean? Like I've seen that happen through seasons, but cause she even said, she's like, it could be funny, it could be serious, like whatever you want. And then he like, almost no like processing time. He just like kind of started talking about that. And so, I think that for their relationship, it definitely developed emotional intimacy. But I still just feel Jess is super young, and like, I don't know,
Well, he also was like, he was still thinking and feeling and talking about what he had shared. And then she like kind of rushed him out, and she made, it was an effort to validate him, to be like, well, I'm really glad that you shared that with me. It's like, it feels really good, and I feel close to you, and I really appreciate it. But for me, I was like, he wasn't done. So I wonder how intentional that was, or if it was just nervous,
or if that's a sign of emotion, like a lack of emotional availability, you know, because like, there are people, like, even with like me and my story, and like, things in general, or dating and having experiences where you're like, yeah, this really hurt, and someone's like, oh, well, I'm sorry you went through that, and it's like they just want to like shut the conversation down because they are nervous about how emotional it could get. And so there's a lack of emotional availability and comfortability with someone expressing their emotions, right? So there's a little clue, so we're just going to keep an eye on that. But yeah, I thought that was a really weird but interesting conversation with like a sweet tone, because of obviously I feel for Zach as a human, and that's wild. So,
yep.
Okay. So I want to talk about Gabby really quick because during this night, Gabby is expressing like, I have so much anxiety because I haven't talked to him. Like even night one, I haven't talked to him other than the maple syrup thing, which he didn't even like the maple syrup. And she was like tripping, right?
Yeah.
I also thought it was so fucking cute that Charity pulled out the five senses grounding. Love that. She was like, what can we taste? I was like, girl, lead by example. Yes. You know, because she was trying to support Gabby and like mitigating her anxiety about the whole thing.
She was tripping.
She was tripping. So she then takes this tripping energy to a conversation with Zach, and it's literally like a monologue. Well, I'm Gabby. I'm from this area. That's literally what she starts with. She's like, I'm from here. I have this many family members. Like, I'm paraphrasing now, but she goes off on this monologue where very much what we see in the editing is her just talking about herself to Zach. Like, it was so, and I was, like I said, cringy. I was freaking out because I was like, girl, this is not you. Like, I feel like I've gotten a vibe for Gabby's personality based off of the first episode. And so this was really hurting me because I'm like, girl, you're going to go home and I really feel you should be here. Like I was like not okay with it. I like her. And so she leaves that conversation and her anxiety has peaked even more to the point to where she's crying and self-isolating to try and soothe. And a producer asks like, are you okay? She's like, no, I'm hurting. So fast forward to the cocktail party for the rose ceremony. And Zach pulls Gabby, and this is the power of what Brie and I were talking about earlier in this episode. Zach pulls Gabby and is like, I feel like every time I'm with you, I'm just giddy and butterflies. And she was like, okay, me too. And it allowed her to calm the F down. She brings him peanut butter cups because she heard that that's his favorite, which, like, obviously peanut butter cups are amazing.
Yeah, it's a top tier.
Yeah. Top tier
shelf
candy.
Yes.
And then what was great is after they both expressed like, yeah, I have the butterflies giddy, like I feel kind of like a school child with you. She, like her Gabby self came out and was like, want a lady and trampet? And I was like, that's my Gabby.
That's
like, there we go.
Yeah, she
like,
needed to like get, she needed to work through. This is why starting to get on a journey of like learning to gain some insight about how anxiety shows up for you. Yeah. You don't need to have an expensive education. You don't even really need to go to therapy all like that. You just need a couple of infographics, maybe follow the holistic psychologist. And on Instagram, like the shit is out here for free these days. Start to get familiar with how does anxiety show up for me. Maybe there's a little bit of an inkling of like, why is it there? What's it responding to? And get just like one skill. One grounding skill, one way to like hack your nervous system just to help you regulate and recover just a hair so that you can step outside of it a little and allow yourself show up in a more authentic way. Because the minute that she was able to get through all of that, which she went on a journey as we do, then we get to he gets to see her be herself. And it's like you get to meet that person for the first time, it feels like.
Yeah. And so she gets a rose, and she did not get the last rose, mind you. So like ranking wise, she's doing great. And so I was just really proud of her, but I feel like that's something, like we said before, everyone that's been nervous on dates can relate to. It's like you are so panicky that words are coming out of your mouth and you're like blacked out. You just are kind of like, my mouth is moving. I don't really know what I'm saying. And then why did that date suck so bad? And then you feel discouraged. And it's like, there are tools available to you to work through that. So yes, learn how to regulate, get in touch with your body.
Yeah. Figure it out. Be your body's, like co-pilot. What do you need?
Yeah.
What's happening right now?
Yeah.
How can
what
I
am I actually
you?
Experiencing? What am I feeling?
Yeah. Who got the last rose? I don't remember. I
Brianna.
couldn't sleep. That's right. She made a comment. She was like, he really made me sweat it out. To be honest, maybe they need to do a little bit of what he and Gabby just got through, which is
agreed.
Like walls need to come down a little bit.
Because I think that's where it's coming from Brianna, but I think she is not aware of that.
Yeah.
At all.
And it shows up
Yeah.
differently for her as it does
Yes.
Gabby, which makes sense because they're two totally
It's her
different people.
perfectionist part is so online. So like in entrepreneurship, it tracks, right? She's an entrepreneur. She's had to be in uncomfortable situations and perform. And so for her, it's just her perfectionist part just takes the fuck over. And she's like a freaking pageant, like, I'm all put together. I am here. I have a brand. I'm poised. I'm articulate. I'm wise. Like, and she is all those things, right? But it does give off this like vibe to Zach that's like, okay, I want to hear you fart. Like, can you please fart for me, Brianna? You know what I mean? Like,
I will.
It's one of those things, you know? And so Zach is looking for that, and Brianna is just looking for like, give me a flag that it's okay to show you that side of me. But she needs to find that within herself, right? So,
Wow.
yeah, it's deep.
Yeah.
It's deep.
And I think that that's a good example of like how we can be empowered to do that for ourselves. Like, I think that she's a really good example of sometimes we're constantly searching for someone to give us permission to be ourselves because we're afraid of what might happen if we do that first.
Yeah.
But really it's just going to continue to lead to dead ends if you don't give yourself the permission to show up.
Exactly.
Imperfect, a little messy, a little,
Yeah.
you know, hair all over the place, farting all over
Yeah.
the place, and
Yep.
show up and actually like connect, because the person that you connect with is either going to be vibing with that or not. What's
Yeah,
Jack Swan?
sorry.
What's he doing?
He's snoring.
Oh.
He's just on his back, sleeping on his bed, but he is snoring. Like, he's just a cute
I
little
think I hear it a
angel.
little. Didn't you say that his snoring was like wicked bad when
It
you
was,
guys
but
first
I got him allergies. Yeah. So he has seasonal allergies. And so through the winter months, his snoring is like a human's. Like, it's gnarly. And I'm a light
wow.
sleeper. But then I read that can be caused by like, he had a couple other symptoms of like what turned out to be like nasal drippage type allergies. So I got him a homeopathic thing that I put in his water, and it's a lot better.
Beautiful.
So now it's more like a subtle purr.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad that worked.
It did work.
I don't
So
have any
going
other
home.
notes. Oh,
No, I just want to recap. Going home, our cat. So bye, cat. She came on and left real quick.
I did
Kimberly
kind of like
and
enjoy her energy. She was funny.
I enjoyed her energy too. She was very playful. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
And then Kimberly went home, and also the girl in the red dress. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. You looked great. She got sent home too. So yeah.
Bye. You know
Bye.
what? We hope
Thanks for
that
playing.
you have a future on Bachelor in Paradise, because that's where it's at.
That's where it's at. I much enjoy that show. It's
I could
so
see
wild.
Kat on BIP.
Oh
No
my
problem.
God, me too. I think she would do great on BIP, actually.
Yeah, she would do awesome.
Okay, so what are
Love
we
that journey
ditching
for her.
this week? I will tell you what I'm down to
Yeah,
ditch.
tell me,
I'm down
please.
to ditch this pressure to not fart or poop
I was
or
gonna
even
say
talk
something.
about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm done with that. We're ditching that. What
Yeah,
about you?
I'm
Do you have
ditching-
anything else to add to the list?
I want to expand on that, even though as if we haven't talked about it enough. I'm ditching
Okay.
specifically like the physical pain, the physical gastro pain, just for the sake of appearing to be a lady.
yeah,
Fuck that shit. Fuck it.
for real.
I'm
yeah,
out.
We're done.
What am I
We're
ditching?
also. Oh, okay.
What?
I'll let you finish. No, I already said one. You
You
said
know
one.
what? I'm ditching. Well, what I want for Brianna is to feel a little bit more in control of her own life. You know,
Yeah, for real.
reflect so that you can be a little bit more aware of like how things are showing up for me are a reflection of what I believe about myself, and not necessarily what people intend to impart on me. I read the
Yes.
4 Agreements recently, and
Love that book.
that
Such a
shit
good
rocks
book.
my world.
Yeah.
Rocks my world.
So simple.
And you know what? I'm going to apply it to both Christina and to Brianna, because the 4 agreements are: be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and the 4th is do your
Huge one.
best. Yeah. And for Christina, be impeccable with your word. Don't even joke around, tell people you hate them just because you're like jealous or whatever. Like
Yeah.
it's a weird reflex that we do as women. It's there due to society's preference to put us against each other, because my belief is that if we were ever supported in being like foot soldiers alongside of each other, the whole world would be different. The whole world would be different.
Yeah. I think people are terrified of women and the power that we have.
You should be, period.
Yeah.
So I think for her, like, be impeccable with your word. Think more about the things that are going to come out of your mouth, because they're going to affect people, and they reflect on her. And we're seeing that she's going to stick her foot in her mouth at some point. Yep. Brianna, don't take this shit personally. Come on now.
No. Yeah.
Let it go.
Yeah.
That's all.
Seriously. All right. Sounds good. Thanks for hanging with us today, guys. Thanks for playing. If you like this episode, leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Podcasts. If you have any questions you want us to answer, head to our website, ditchthescriptpod.com. And if you'd like to apply for a free 30-minute session with us, head to ditchthescriptpod.com/podcast. And make sure you follow us on IG and TikTok at Ditch the Script Pod, so that you get to hang out with us and DM us and give us your opinions on things too. Alrighty. We love you.
Bye.
Bye.